Well, hello there. This is Vitriol's the Chess Noob learning and having fun with chess. Last week, I showed you a game where it was a beatdown against the opponent with the Vienna Gambit. Today, I've got another beatdown with another line in the Vienna game. Let's go take a look. Vienna game, of course, begins with e4, e5, knight c3. And in this game, my opponent decided to play bishop to b4, very combative, with an attack on my knight, the Shuralev counter gambit. It's a tricky opening response by black, potentially good, but it's not easy to play. Here, white has a huge number of options: knight forward, attack with an attack on the bishop, or ignore with just d4, or maybe just develop the other knight. However, my favorite move in this position is queen to g4. This is my favorite anti-Shuralev counter gambit counter attack. This is a giraffe attack like move. So if black played bishop, it's a very similar move, bishop to c5, that's Anderson defense, this would be the giraffe attack. However, against a Shuralev, we can play giraffe attack type tactics. It's very powerful, very winning. And the thing is, this move I like to imagine as an angry, rampaging giraffe attacking to black's position, immediately pressuring that g7 pawn, asking the question, why did they move their bishop out so early? And for black, this move seems unexpected, feels a bit gangly, just like, a giraffe, but at the same time, very disconcerting with this attack. What are they going to do? Being attacked by a giraffe, I think you would be pretty disconcerted too. In this position, my opponent spent quite a long time thinking on what they were going to do. So this was a game I played on Lichess, a rapid game, 10+5, and notice they spent, I think, almost 2 minutes thinking about this move, and eventually they got spooked by this giraffe queen. So their best move is to develop their knight. However, they decided eventually they lost their nerve and they pulled their bishop all the way back. You can see, spent basically 2 minutes thinking about that move. Now their thinking was that, they're going to consolidate, defend g7, not have to have any problems there. And they were probably thinking that this should be fine for them because queens, like almost a wayward queen type attack, surely they can develop with winning tempo, like, if they played d6, discovers an attack on the queen, or maybe the knight forces me to move the queen again. And they do have some logic here, but my queen out is actually completely okay in a giraffe attack type positions. There's no reason for me to slip the queen all the way back to d1. The best square for the queen in these giraffe attack type positions is to slip the queen onto its parking square in these positions, which is g3. Queen here, immediately putting some pressure on their e5 pawn. Of course, that would potentially come with check. That forces them to play d6 pretty much, which is their best move. And now we just develop. Bishop out. In this position, they play the knight. I've developed my other knight. Notice on move 6, I've got 3 minor pieces out. They're all in standard typical positions. I've got some central control with a pawn, and I've got a queen developed. They have only got 1 knight developed. Here, black felt a bit spooked again with this pressure. Maybe they were hoping to move that bishop so that they could castle, and so now they play g6. It's a mistake. One of the things in the Vienna game is that if your opponent with the black pieces play some slow sort of moves, so here they lost some tempo with moving that bishop, this is another slow move. Sometimes in the Vienna game, you see the opponent not knowing what to do, they might play a flank pawn move. These slow moves can potentially allow white to win enough tempo to gain an absolutely overwhelming winning attack. Here, I now have the opportunity to make an immediate attack on black's weak f-pawn on f7. Knight jumps forward, a knight attack to g5. What is black going to do? 2 attackers. Black has a think, and they decide, they thought, look, that should be okay. They're going to attack my queen first. but you'll see it's a blunder, and it's a really bad blunder. Look at this, plus 11. Anytime you see low depth stockfish, say something like that, there's a good chance there actually is a checkmate. And in fact, there is. At higher depth, stockfish can see there's a forced mate in no more than 11 moves. Mate 11. Now, I obviously didn't see that in the game. However, in this position, I was actually wondering, is there a mate? Or is there a possibility of winning massive material? This is one of the things that can happen in the Vienna game, and we saw that in the beatdown in the Vienna Gambit. Here, black has no developed pieces. Their only developed piece, their knight, is now jumped to the edge of the board. The knight is not a long-range piece, which means it's no longer really offering defense around their king. First move, the bishop captures the f7 pawn with check. And often the logic here is that we can marshal our pieces, attack black's king, and sometimes we can chase it into the opening, forcing winning of massive material, or maybe even getting a mate. King forced forward, and now knight jumps forward, another check. King forced into this position. Now here I think the best move is actually queen to h3. I didn't see it in the game. However, I can give another check. Notice that's defended by the knight. And the idea is trying to bring the king out into the center of the board. Check. They don't go back. They move forward. That's a mistake. The reason I wanted to keep the queen onto the third rank is it now allows the queen onto this side of the board. Check. And basically, king force forward again. Pawn, a5, check, forces the king to this position. Check, forces the king. That's their last move. Almost every square is potentially controlled here. Look at that. Pawn, of course, is defended. And what we've done is that we've attacked black's king, dragged him from his throne, dragged him into the center of the board in front of his own troops, and now in potentially a final step of disrespect, we don't even give mate with the queen, which is potentially possible here. We give checkmate with the humble b pawn, barrier to b pawn, leaps forward, and it's mate, absolutely winning. Absolute devastation. Good game. GG. The big takeaway from this game for Vienna game lovers is to try the Giraffeish queen, the queen to g4 in the Anderson defense and Shirlev counter gambit lines. It's extremely fun and very, very winning. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.